So the YMCA education series is free and open to the public. So we encourage you to spread the word and invite family and friends to participate. We host approximately 8 to 10 of these programs a month, varying in all different topics. This program will last about an hour. And if you have any questions, please wait until the end of the presentation and keep them general. You can also type them in the chat. When you have a question, again, type it in the chat or you can relay it to me and I will forward it to Dr. Nevin. You may also raise your hand and ask the question yourself at the end of the presentation. Thank you again for joining us. And now I would like to introduce Dr. Paul Nevin. Dr. Nevin holds a doctoral degree in clinical psychology and a master's degree in developmental psychology. He's been practicing for, you mentioned, over 40 years, right? And he has special expertise in stress, depression, and relationship between emotion and health. And I'm going to turn my camera off and give the floor to Dr. Nevin.
Hey folks, welcome back. Glad to see you again, those that I can see. This is our last in our monthly series for a little while. I have not made arrangements yet, so I'm not sure what a next step might be, but I would guess at this point, possibly in the beginning of the next year, or maybe even in the fall, and maybe in person, depending on how things are going with this whole crazy COVID period of our lives. Otherwise, I would do this again if it's the only option, but I know we're not going to do anything for the summer because I wasn't part of that. They have to do it a certain amount ahead of time to get the word out. So we won't be doing anything at least until fall, and then in the fall or maybe in January, we'll start up again with something, either a talk or a series or something like that. Today, I'm just going to sort of jump around a little bit and do a handful of things, some of which we've done some version of before, some might be new. You know, we've talked before about there's a lot of different ways of defining what meditation is, but one of the most basic foundational ideas is that you are training the mind to relax a more out of control part of our mind, the more talking part of our mind, so that we can realize our wholeness of our consciousness instead of it having it be dominated by this sense of I, this talking sense of ourselves. And oftentimes, in order to do that, rather than trying to clear your mind, it's easier to take something as a relaxed focus and allow that focus to gradually relax the different parts of your being. You can try to do an openness meditation. That is a different kind of a focus, and we're going to do a version of that today, I think, if we have time, where we focus on space. But more generally, you can focus on anything. So you can focus on your breath, you can focus on a candle flame, you can focus on the waves coming in if you're sitting at the beach, you can focus on a part of your body, you can focus on a word that you repeat over and over again. The most basic form of meditation, in my experience, across a lot of traditions, a lot of countries, a lot of spiritual traditions, a lot of time periods, is what I would call focal meditation, which is you take something as your focus, you stay in the present moment, you stay as relaxed as you can, you stay as wordlessly as you can, and when your mind wanders and starts talking, you just gently bring it back again. You don't judge, you don't get all perfectionistic about it, you don't see it like it's a pass-fail exam, you just recognize that part of the process is your mind is going to go off like a monkey in the trees, and then you just bring it back gently. And over time, as you do this, your mind calms more and more. Many of the things people start with are more concrete things to focus on, like I said, the breath, a word, a point on your body. But you can also use more general things like images, sounds. You can sit in the morning, close your eyes and you're, on your porch and listen to the bird song. You can sit at the ocean and watch the waves. You can pick up a leaf in the fall and look at the colors of the leaf. Anything where you just still your mind and get into what I would call the experiential mind. The unspeaking part of us that just experiences the world and is aware of that, rather than describing it, talking to ourselves about it, thinking about it, judging this versus that. anything that gets you more in touch with that experiential part of your mind. Um, the more you manage to quiet your mind and move into this more meditative state. I don't know if I've mentioned this before. Many of you may have bumped into it on your own, but there is a woman, I think her name is Jill Bolte Taylor, and she has a TED Talk and some YouTube videos out there that talk about, and I think she has a book as well. Her YouTube TED Talk is called My Stroke of Insight. And her book is a similar title or the same title, I'm not sure. And she tells a story about, she's a neurologist who had a stroke. And when she had her stroke, she realized, hey, I'm a neurologist. I should pay attention to how this feels from the inside so I can talk about it later, which to me is a remarkably calm thing to be thinking when you're having a stroke. But apparently she did that. And she does talk about it in her YouTube talk. And I'll leave you to explore it yourself if you're interested. But the short version is she had a stroke on the left side of her brain, which is where most of language originates from. Our ability to produce language and receive language is, for most of the people, most of the time, it's located in major concentrated centers on the left side of the brain. And oftentimes, if people have a serious stroke in that part of their brain, they have trouble with language. They lose language function. In her case, she lost it during the stroke, but then it came back over the next couple of years with her training and work on it. But while she was having the experience, she had sort of a dramatic, extreme biological version of, I think, what we do in a subtler way with meditation all the time. She found that as this talking part of her brain calmed down and then went away, and she talks about going to the phone to call 911 and not recognizing the numbers on the phone. They looked like Egyptian hieroglyphics to her. And she actually called 911 by remembering the music of 911 and tapping numbers until she found that music or something to that effect. So it is startling to think that we can have consciousness without the part of us that talks. But what she found is that when she had that experience, she had experiences that were very similar to what they talk about oftentimes in meditative traditions, in terms of a feeling of connection, a oneness, a feeling of a peace that comes from the inside out instead of needing something in order to feel peace, a basic sense of an inner contentment. Many of these qualities she feels, and I don't know if she's right or wrong, I think there's some truth to what she's saying, but I don't know if it's too much of an oversimplification, but she thinks a lot of what we're doing with meditation and some of these traditions is we're learning to turn down a left brain part of us that gets out of control and becomes too bossy and is always talking over the other parts.
No, well, I think we could do both.
Hello? Someone is not on mute, I think. So you might want to look into that TED Talk. Again, her name is Jill Bolte Taylor, I think, and her TED Talk is called My Stroke of Insight, I believe. And it's an interesting insight into what might be another way of looking at what we're doing in terms of brain science. But from our point of view, at least, what we're often doing is at least calming down, creating a more positive self-talk and calming the self-talk so it becomes less frenetic, less dominating, less aggressive, more able to feel the experiential part of yourself, even while you're still talking, if you are talking, but have that part of you calm down a little bit so it's not so overshadowing every other part of your consciousness. And what I find in my own practice is that when you do that, you don't just experience the other part of your brain, which was overshadowed by the talking mind. There is a sort of a new consciousness, almost the same way you have two eyes, and that creates a depth perception that wouldn't be there with either eye alone. Having the talking mind and the experiential mind both active, but neither one dominating, allows you to experience the world in a way that is not something we can fit into words, but that is sort of like a depth perception of consciousness that includes both a sense of I and a sense of being connected to everything, both at the same time. So a lot of what we've talked about in this course is meditation primarily as a way of relaxing, as a way of promoting certain things that we want to promote, such as health, well-being, better concentration, better performance, and so on. But if you look towards more the development of consciousness and even the spiritual aspects that meditation is used for, here in this last session, I wanted to at least give you a glimpse that what you're doing can open you to a kind of a spiritual awakening of your consciousness, that from my point of view is this depth perception that comes from quieting the talking mind, but not getting rid of it. Quieting it to the point where the other parts of your mind come online and come out of their slumber, and you begin to experience the world with a richness in the present moment, and you realize that you've been almost sleepwalking through life with your stories about yourself, and to really be present and have your sense of I is a new awareness that cannot be described in words, but can be experienced when you've meditated for a period of time. Today, in terms of our practices, I'm just going to bounce around an eclectic group of some of the things we've done before, as well as some that we may not have done. I'm going to start with a sound meditation that we have done before, and I think I'm going to include in it a little bit of a positive visualization. So let me get this ready to go. This is as I've said to you before, when you listen to words or sounds that don't translate directly into your language, there's a quieting of certain verbal parts of your brain and an awakening of other parts of your brain. So sometimes just listening to something from another language, listening to literally a song in a language you don't speak, can help you to reach a little bit of a meditative state. We're going to listen to a song that is based on the Indian system of Sanskrit mantras, and it's basically the word Shanti over and over again. Shanti essentially means peace in Sanskrit, and it particularly means an awake kind of peace, not peace like sleeping or falling asleep or drowsy or zoning out, but a very aware and connected feeling of being at peace with the world. And what I want you to do is, as we do this, just focus on the words. And if you like, it's not required, you can add the meditation of imagine that there's light falling all around you, almost like flakes, like snowflakes of light raining around you. If you like, you can turn it into a rainbow of light, so that there are almost like a colored snow falling around you, and feel as though something is affecting you positively, almost like a grace descending upon you as you listen to this word peace repeated over and over again. The actual meditation is fairly short. I think it's less than 5 minutes. When you're ready, just start to relax and allow yourself to hear the music, and then start to imagine the falling light, the colored snow.
Shanti, 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 Shanti. Shanti, 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 Antariksham Shanti, Prithvi Shanti, Apa Shanti, Ushadaya Shanti, Vanaspataya Shanti, Sarvam 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 Shanti, Shantireva Shanti, Shantireva Shanti, Shantireva Shanti, 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 Shanti.
All right. You can keep your eyes closed if you wish to, or come back for a moment before we start the next meditation. This meditation, we're going to use space as our focus. As I said, you can focus on anything in a focal meditation, including something that feels like being unfocused in a way. You can focus on being empty. There's a tradition in Taoism from China where before, if you've ever seen people doing things like Tai Chi or Qigong, when I studied these practices, we would always spend 5 or 10 minutes before beginning in what they called absolute emptiness, a state of simply connecting to everything and being empty, feeling the spaciousness of the universe, the openness behind all forms. This is what we're going to do now, and I'm just going to guide you into a little bit of an expanded state. So begin by just feeling your body. Let your eyes close. Let your breathing be a little softer, a little more rhythmic, a little deeper. And if you like, you can take a few breaths extending the exhale. And what I mean by that is however long your inhale is, you breathe out a little longer than your breathe in. If you inhaled to a count of 4, you might exhale to a count of 6. Someone needs to turn on their mute, I think. Whoever's phone just went off. Now feel your body relaxing and simply notice, without necessarily thinking excessively about it or questioning or trying to figure anything out, just notice the fact that your body exists in space. And recognize simply that this space is itself something of a mystery. Mystery simply in the sense of we take it for granted, it's always there, everything happens within it, but we don't really know where it comes from or what it is. One of my teachers, one of my favorite teachers, a fellow from India, used to say that space seems like emptiness to us, but actually when you awaken your consciousness, you realize that space is a fullness of energy. And he used the analogy of how white light can be broken into the spectrum of colors. And he said that everything that's physical that we know is almost like one of the colors, and that the space that seems empty is actually just a fullness of every possibility. Imagine that you're connecting now to that spaciousness and begin to let your attention expand beyond your body to absorb greater and greater space, exploring, moving out to the room, become aware of the room that you're in. Feel as though your consciousness expands and expands to your town, and then beyond to your country, eventually becoming quite large and expanding to the whole planet. Your mind now absorbs and is aware of the entire planet, all the billions of people and countless organisms. Expand further and begin to move into space beyond our planet, absorbing the moon, the planets, the sun, our entire solar system. Going further and further, absorbing stars, systems, nebulae, expanding to extraordinary sizes, absorbing the entire universe, and eventually, like 1,000,000,000 points of light within your consciousness, you've absorbed all of the physical reality of the universe and universes. And beyond that, still, there's space. Feel that you continue expanding into the absolute space, the absolute emptiness that everything exists within. As you become more and more one with this absolute space, you feel the infinity of your own being. And you realize that usually your focus is what shrinks your consciousness down. Your consciousness in its natural state is infinite like space. Don't struggle. Don't worry about whether you're doing it right or not. Simply allow your energy and your consciousness to expand, to absorb more and more of this infinite absolute space until the entire physical creation gets smaller and smaller and smaller, becoming like a point of light that eventually might as well not be there because the space around it is so expansive. You become one with the absolute emptiness, the absolute space. And you feel to your surprise that this is not empty, but there is some sort of a nurturing, positive background essence to it. Let yourself merge with this infinity and simply contemplate the absolute space of infinity for a few minutes. In this expanded state, I give you the positive suggestion that you can rewrite yourself in almost any way you wish. That many of the things that you think of as you are simply things that you have come to agree are you. Beyond the simple physical limits of our body and so on, most of what we think of as ourselves, our personality, our sense of what we must think about ourselves or feel about ourselves, all of that is just consensus, things that we've decided to agree with ourselves about over the time of our lives. Here in this state of absolute expansion, realize that you can rewrite those stories. You can rewrite your own computer code. Let go of any unwanted conditionings. Let go of any unwanted beliefs about yourself. See yourself as vibrant, youthful, happy. Whatever positive qualities you wish. Absorb these from the infinity of the absolute space. If you find there is anything effortful in attempting to connect to this feeling of space, try to let that go and imagine for the moment that this infinite state is actually your natural relaxed state, the nature of your consciousness. Now feel that you absorb wonderful gifts from this absolute space and take them with you as you begin to come back into your focus of the world. You shrink down back to the universe as a whole, as if it were a large ball of stars of dramatically large proportion. You shrink further and further down eventually to our own solar system, our own sun, our own planets. Shrink further to the moon, shrink further to our planet Earth, jewel in the sky. Shrink further to your area on the planet, your neighborhood. Come back to the building that you're in. Remember your space, your body. Come back to your body. And feel again your body, always connected to this infinite space that you are sitting in and simply not aware of it. Always this infinity is with you. Now we're going to move from space to contemplating light. Take any image that brings to your consciousness the idea of light. Could be a sunrise or a sunset, candle flame, the sun sparkling on the dew of the grass in the morning, shafts of light coming through a window, illuminating dust particles. Let your attention turn for a moment to the miracle of light, this mysterious thing that has within it the ability to enhance life, the sunshine making all things grow. Contemplate without any judgment or need to figure anything out. Simply become more aware of the fact that light is real and that it is miraculous, that it is evidence of the true magic of the world. Meditate on light. Let your mind now turn to the positive things that we associate with light. The freshness of a new day. The rejuvenation of spring. The wonderful enjoyment of the summertime. Feel the warmth of the sun on your face and your mind. Think of children playing in the sun. Feel that this source of positive energy is with us all the time. And it's there whether we see it or not. Even if it's dark outside, that just means the sun is hidden by the planet. Even if there's clouds and storms, the sun is still there, it's just hidden, it will return. Always the light of the sun is real and is present and is either with us or will return to our vision, but it's always with us. Feel that you absorb the essence of that sun, the essence of that light, the essence of that rejuvenation and vitality into your body. Now we're going to move our attention and let our focus go from light to love. Again, without judgment or need to figure anything out, simply recognize that love is a real thing. There is a truth to love and loving kindness existing in the world. It takes many forms, some of them deeper, some of them more shallow, from loving our child to loving our car. But love is basic to who we are and how we experience the world. Let your attention come now to simply the reality of love and the many expressions that it has in the world, including loving people, loving beauty, loving truth, gratitude for those who promote loving kindness in the world. We choose to put forth the effort to bring more love into the world. Anything you focus on becomes stronger in your world, in your mind, in your consciousness. We are focused on beautiful sound to begin, on the infinity of space, on the rejuvenative qualities of light. And now we focus on what some mystics would say is the essence and goal of meditation, which is the truth of love. Across many different meditative traditions, there is this idea that when you realize your consciousness, you realize that love is not just some side dish, not just something to do with human culture, not just something of survival of the fittest, that love is somehow inherent in the universe, one of the most basic things that flowers in a particular way within human consciousness, but is inherent in everything. It's part of the very fabric of reality. You can accept that or not. I'm not trying to force any belief on you. I'm just telling you that across different times, different places, different countries, different cultures, different religions, as well as places that have no explicit religion in the theistic sense, many people who have explored meditative practices have direct experiences in which they say, oh, love is at the center of everything. There's something fundamentally true about love that we miss in our busyness. Let yourself just be curious and wonder if that's true. And let your attention land on the reality of love existing in the world and at least appreciate it and be grateful for it, whatever your belief is about it. We're going to finish today with a practice that was taught to me by a Hawaiian teacher. Many people are not aware of the tradition of huna in Hawaii. If you're old enough like me, you may remember the beach movies of the middle of the last centuries where they would talk about the big kahuna. That term actually comes from a tradition called huna, which is sort of analogous to, in Hawaii, what you might say is like the native traditions that we have in the US and our Native American tribal spiritual traditions. In Hawaii, there's a tradition called huna, which is sort of the indigenous spirituality and meditative traditions of Hawaii. And kahuna originally actually can mean many things, but it particularly means one who holds the secret. One kahuna that I met and studied with for some time taught me this practice. It consists of 3 parts, and it's a great way to start your day, to take 5 minutes to do these 3 things. The first is bless the present. And I forget what the actual Hawaiian words are. The word for blessed does not necessarily have to have a religious context in the way he was meaning it, but it means bless in the sense of affirm, recognize, appreciate, be grateful for, give your attention to. When we say bless the present, we're essentially meaning recognize what's good in the present moment of your life. Recognize the things that you celebrate that are positive. Bless the present by recognizing that you appreciate spring turning into summer, that you are glad for whatever health you have, whatever love you have in your life, whatever beauty you know. Think of the people that you care about. Think of the things, whether it be the freedom in our country or the sun shining in the sky, or if you are a religious person, perhaps you find comfort and beauty in your religion. Perhaps it's a flower in your garden, the wonderful innocence and purity of your dog or cat. Recognize the gifts of the present. This is what they mean by bless the present. Let your mind now just follow its own course, finding things in your present world that are unquestionably true and good. There may always be something else you can think of that is the other side of the coin. We're just not focusing on that right now. We know that's there. As you think about people you love, you may also think, oh, but there's also people I'm not so crazy about. But let's just not focus on that right now. We're blessing the present. So in blessing the present, we selectively focus on the things that light our heart, the things that make us feel good, the things that remind us that there's some good in this world. Now feel that all of these things that you have blessed in the present are somehow feeding you, nourishing and nurturing your heart, feeding your soul, helping you to become stronger, more flexible, more positive. And we move to the second principle. The first principle was bless the present. The second is trust yourself. This is a particularly hard step for many of us, where we need to recognize our own goodness. That doesn't mean that we never make mistakes. It doesn't mean that we know everything. It doesn't mean that we're never tempted to be less than our best self. But right now we are trusting the goodness of ourselves and recognizing the goodness of ourselves. Recognizing that we have the capacity to be good, that we have the capacity to love, the capacity to see beauty, the ability to make ourselves better, the ability to grow and change in the direction of our ideals. We can trust that we are on a journey and we are up to that journey. That there is meaning to our lives. That we can make our lives better, that we have some ability to have a sense of personal power in our lives. We may not be able to control everything, maybe not always everything we want, but we always have an ability to face the day and say, what can I do today to make myself better, to make life better for myself and for others? We can trust ourselves to find that and to do that. Trust that your judgment is basically sound. Does that mean you can never make a mistake? Of course not. But fundamentally, your judgment is sound. Fundamentally, there's a grace and a magic to your being. You are a child of the universe, or if you are a religious person, you can say you are a child of God. And there's something fundamentally to be approved of in your very self. Affirm yourself and feel that as you do, from wherever you were starting, you move a little bit towards being stronger, clearer, more dedicated to expressing your own highest destiny, your own best self. The first principle was bless the present. The second is trust yourself. The third is expect the best. Look out now into the world and into the future and ask yourself the question, what if things went very right? What is the best that could happen? What if this next period were extraordinarily lucky? Imagine things resolving that you didn't know could resolve, things changing that you had kind of given up on changing. Improvements in your relationships, improvements in your health, improvements in the world. Imagine that we are at the beginning of a period where everything gets better. Think of different areas in your life and imagine the best. Lean into expecting the best, not in a blind way, not in a way that you don't realize that you're doing an exercise, but in a way that you exercise the part of your mind that can imagine the good and encourage it and invite it. From the smallest things, like the best possible end to this practice, to the best day, to the best year ever, to the best rest of your life. Feel as though you are inviting your own highest destiny and the highest destiny of the world going forward. If you want to bring this practice into your life any morning, oftentimes it can be a very powerful practice to do this even before you open your eyes getting out of bed. But at any time during the day, you can do it in your own way, sitting as a meditation, or even as you're walking or sitting and looking out at the birds out through your breakfast room window. You take these 3 steps. You begin by blessing the present, affirming what's good in the world and in yourself. Then remembering to trust yourself, to believe in yourself, to affirm yourself, to approve of yourself. Then projecting into the future and expecting the best, creating your own highest destiny going forward. When you're ready, come back to your awareness of your body in the room and begin to close out this meditation practice. Feel that your body and heart and mind have been nurtured by sound, space, light, love, as well as the 3 principles from the Huna. Bless the present, trusting yourself, and expecting the best. Feel that you carry these vibrations with you into your life, into your day, and beyond. When you're ready, open your eyes, move your fingers and toes, come back into the room. Anna, I don't know if you're still listening in, but we're done with the meditation practice and you can come back to close whenever you're ready.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nevin. I wanted to ask if anyone has any questions. All right, if not,
As always, if you have a question that comes to you later or that's too private to ask in a group, you can always send me an email or contact me through my website. I think you've all had that information before. You may have a screen that you can put up in, I don't know.
okay.
When,
yeah.
when is the next class?
We're actually suspending the classes now, at least for the summer. I'm going to get talking to Karen and other people at the Y and see if we're going to do another set in the fall or next winter. But for right now, we're on break. There's 2 ways you can continue to practice. In my website, there's an audio recording of a brief relaxation practice. It's about 20 minutes long that you could do as a daily practice. But also you can go to the Y website and they have the previous talks like this recorded. So you can have your own daily practice or weekly practice if you want to through the recordings until we come back together again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, well, this concludes our YMCA Education Series presentation. On behalf of the North Suburban YMCA and our Yes Series, we thank you for supporting our organization and programs like these. A special thank you to Dr. Nevin for the presentation today.
Thank all of you for coming.
And
Thank you.
And programs like this one are free and open to everyone in the community. So if you enjoyed today's program and would like to support the North Suburban YMCA, please consider helping with a donation at nsymca.org. We hope to see you at our next event tomorrow. Thursday, June 10th at 9:15, where you will hear about the final life cycle event. Thank you again and have a wonderful day.
Have a wonderful summer, everyone.
You
And you
too.
also.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.